Well, hello, everybody. We're so pleased to have you here at the MOC, or Microeconomics of Competitiveness European Network meeting for the year 2020. We have the MOC network is a very large group of universities from around the world that work collaboratively together on issues related to competitiveness, economic development, building prosperity, and trying to make the world a better place in a very challenging environment that we've been facing for the last few years. We're very grateful for MIM Business School, our affiliate here in the Ukraine, for helping to host this meeting. We're very pleased that we have distinguished Ukrainian leaders here, and we welcome all of you to this session. What I'd like to do is try to give you an overview of the MOC network, what this is all about, and any of you that are interested, we'd like to get you more involved. And we'd like your suggestions if there are other schools that could be part of this process. Again, this has been a long-term process by which I think academic institutions, mostly business schools, have played a very important role in shaping competitiveness in many, many countries. So we're very, very excited to have you here. Now, there's also a broader group of Ukrainians here in the room, and what I'd like for you all to take away from this is to learn a little bit more about how we're thinking about competitiveness today, what is the new learning, and what are some of the key things going on in the world that we need to pay attention to. And there'll be some follow-on sessions when we're finished with this introduction, which I hope will enhance your knowledge and enhance your background on this fundamental topic. So this affiliate network is something that began originally at Harvard Business School many years ago. And you can see that as of today, we have well over 120 affiliated schools around the world. We're very proud of that. We actually normally, in a normal year, we would be convening at Harvard Business School, getting all the affiliates together. Some of you hopefully have been to those meetings. We are very sad that we're not going to have one this year, but hopefully next year it will happen. What the affiliates are doing is every one of these business schools has a course which is called MOC, or Microeconomics of Competitiveness. And it's a course that tries to teach and shape the attitudes of our students and executives and other interested parties in the whole question of competitiveness and economic development, and how we create prosperity in the world. We have a tremendous problem around the world with very, very uneven levels of prosperity for citizens. We have countries that are stuck at relatively low levels. We find that it's really hard to improve competitiveness. It's hard to raise prosperity. It's a very complicated topic, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. We also do this course and have this network because we want business schools to understand that business has a broader role in society. It's not just a narrow role. It's not just making money. It's not just producing products and services. Business is a critical driver of competitiveness in any economy in every country. And the purpose of this network is to get business schools to understand how important they are, to play a bigger and bigger role over time, and hopefully to become really a center of knowledge of this topic all over the world. The affiliates in the network are doing research on competitiveness. We have research publications that come out of this work. And we want the faculty of each of these schools all over the world, including MIM, to be the world leading experts on competitiveness in their country. And we're very proud that when the media call somebody to get insight into competitiveness, they call MOC affiliates, and that happens all over the world. We also want the business school itself to be seen as a center of economic development, a center of competitiveness, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So what I wanted to share with you on here on this slide is the sheer activity of the MOC network. And this includes our European affiliates, but our Ukrainian affiliate that we're so happy to be with today, and also many other affiliates around the world. You see here that there are, as of this date, which was 2019, 126 affiliated universities. And we're very proud of that. These are all high-skilled, high-quality universities that have been carefully vetted, and the faculty are very strong, very talented faculty. There's about 535 or 536 faculty that taught this course all around the world. There were 2,000 plus courses that were taught in other schools. Some of these courses were not in schools. Some of them were to business leaders for executive education. You can see that the schools didn't just teach courses, they also created institutes. What we want our affiliates to do is become the competitive institute for their country and collect the data to publish reports. And we have more than 100 of our affiliates that are institutes and have played a very prominent role around the world. We're proud of all of you. We also do work in the institutes on cluster initiatives. Clusters are concentrations of businesses in a particular field in a particular location. So for example, in New York, there's the financial services cluster, what we all know as Wall Street. And there's hundreds of companies all in Manhattan that work in the financial services area, and they collaborate and cooperate a lot. What we found is economic growth and job growth and wage growth is the greatest when you have a cluster. If you just have an isolated company, you don't see as much progressiveness, you don't see as much productivity, you don't see as much innovation, you don't see as many new jobs. So one of the things we've done in institutes around the world is really define the clusters in each country and try to go through a process of cluster development, which is a body of work that we've developed over the years. You can also see that in different regions of the country and different national areas, there have been many other competitiveness institutes. You can see that this network is very active and very involved in this process. We also write a lot of case studies of various countries and regions and clusters. There's a lot of research going on, which we review and publish. And there's been a lot of collaboration across the European affiliates, for example. There are schools all over Europe that are working together on this agenda, and that's true in other parts of the world. So we're very, very proud of the network, what it's doing, and we're very pleased to have all of you here. We want to congratulate you on that work, and we really want to thank our sponsors here in this country for supporting this work. So in terms of the key concepts of competitiveness, competitiveness is fundamentally determined by the productivity of an economy. And productivity is how much output can be generated from a day of work and a dollar or whatever the currency is invested. If you're productive, if you can develop a lot of output per day or per dollar, you can be prosperous. You can earn a high salary. If you're not productive, it's very hard to be prosperous, and you're going to end up having a low wage. So the real key concepts in competitiveness has to do with how do we build a productive economy? And it's complicated because many, many things affect competitiveness. The roads, the schools, the IT infrastructure, there are many things that matter, and this slide provides kind of the overall framework that we teach all across the world in this course. It says there are really three levels that drive competitiveness. Number one is the endowment. This is the things that have been inherited by the country. Where is the country located? Is it near other countries? How many people are there? Are there natural resources? And so on. Endowments really are important. If you have a country with a lot of mineral wealth, for example, this gives you an opportunity to be productive and generate prosperity. The next level, which is we call macroeconomic competitiveness, these are the broad factors across the entire economy that affect productivity. Monetary and fiscal policy, we have to have a budget that's sustainable, where we can keep reinvesting and improving the circumstances in the country. So that's on the left here. We need effective public institutions. Government has to do its job right. It has to do its job efficiently. It's got to do its job in a dispassionate and effective way. And then, of course, the productivity of a society and a country depends also on human and social development. It's actually well-talented, well-trained human beings that really drive economic competitiveness and innovation and success. But we also need social development so that all our humans can get good educations, can have efficient logistics, and other dimensions. So that's the second level. And then at the third level is what this course is especially all about. And the reason it's called Microeconomics of Competitiveness is because we find that the critical driver of prosperity is actually individual companies and the clusters that they create and the business environment surrounding them. If you have a good business environment, you can be efficient, you can be effective, you can have access to strong clusters, you can have a lot of innovation. And this framework is something that all of our affiliates teach, and we have many, many case studies that describe how this looks and how it's improved over time in country after country after country. We've done many, many dozens of country strategies around the world over the years, and members of the network have done the same. So in thinking about how you build a prosperous and competitive economy, here, this slide really illustrates something that we're learning that's more and more important every day. And that is, you just can't think about economic development if you want to build prosperity. You also have to make progress on social development. You've got to equip human beings with a good healthcare. You've got to equip them with a good education. You've got to create all the things in the environment that will equip humans to do their best, to be there at their best. And there's a powerful connection here. In too many countries, economic development is focused only on economics, not so much on improving the social agenda, improving the quality of life, improving the safety, and all the other things that allow people to be more productive and to feel more satisfied about what they're doing. And we have to do these things together. If we just focus on economic and get behind on social, we're going to have problems. And that's happening to some extent in the US. Now, this topic of economic and social development is being really illustrated today in the COVID crisis. What we're seeing is because of a health issue, we have basically slowed down dramatically the progress in country after country. And what we've learned is COVID has the worst impact in countries that don't have a good social environment, in countries that don't have good healthcare, in countries that don't have good, safe circumstances, have a rule of law. And this is a finding that's just really emerged over the last few months as we've learned which countries have done better at COVID, which countries have done poorly at COVID. And the answer is it depends on where they were when they started. And if they had a good society, a good social agenda, a good economic agenda, a good business environment, COVID, they can handle it. But if they didn't, then COVID has been a real problem. So you see poor countries, emerging countries have been really hard hit. And many of the most effective economies have done okay. They've been able to withstand this crisis and still continue to grow. So in terms of looking at economic development, particularly the social side of development, we now have some unique data that we never had before called the Social Progress Index. The more we understand that true prosperity comes from both economic and social development, we need to not just measure our economic success, we need to measure how well we're progressing on the social agenda. And I led a team some years ago that developed this index that you see here. It's a very busy slide because there's lots of dimensions of social progress. There's nutrition, there's shelter, there's safety, there's access to knowledge, to communication, to the environmental quality, to personal rights, to inclusiveness, lack of discrimination. All these things prove to be very powerful in shaping the competitiveness and the social development of a country. What this slide shows you is something we're very disturbed about, which is that the United States, a country that has long been viewed as highly competitive with a very strong democracy that is always making things better, is actually lagging now in social progress. We've done this for virtually every country in the world. And so for Ukraine social progress scorecard that we'll show you a little bit later, but wherever you're from, you can go online and find this data and we can compare ourselves. And what we see now is the US is the eighth top country in the world in terms of income, GDP per capita. But look on the top right, we're number 28 in social progress. We're lagging our income. And you can see all the red dots on this chart. And these are areas where the US is falling behind. We used to be the top. Now we're falling behind. This is why the US economic performance is becoming more and more spotty and uneven. We have tremendous issues of safety, death rates, criminality that have been allowed to exist in the US. We have a huge issue of criminality. We have real issues with health. Our healthcare system, we spend vast amounts on healthcare, but we don't get good healthcare for the average citizen. And that's really holding back the progress of the US. Environmental quality is so-so. We've had a big debate about the environment. The Trump administration has been a problem because they didn't really believe in it. So we've fallen further behind. And you can see the other areas that are red, or these are areas that are weaknesses of the US. And the problem we're having right now is we're going into an election, and we're finding that neither party today is moving this agenda forward. We're stuck, and we don't have a consensus in our government, and we're not passing the right legislation. We don't have a infrastructure bill to improve our infrastructure, even though we know it's far behind. We aren't fixing our healthcare system, even though we know it's broken. We aren't dealing with our safety issues. We still have a lot of gun violence, and we can't deal with it because of politics. So our country is in a struggle right now. And I think every one of you, wherever you're from, needs to understand how this agenda is progressing in your country, and also whether your political system is actually delivering what the country needs. And what we're finding around the world is that many political systems are not working. And I have been so distressed with the US political system that I actually have been working with a co-author on a whole book on this topic for the last 3 or 4 years. You see on the bottom of the slide, the book is called The Politics Industry. What we recognize is politics is really an industry. It's driven by the political parties who are not public, they're private institutions. They're trying to advance themselves. And we often find that the parties get so busy fighting each other on partisanship and ideology that they don't pass legislation. They don't get things done. They don't move the society forward. This is really a problem in the US right now. And any of you that saw our presidential debate the other night, see it. It was live. It was right there. You could just see how our political system and how our parties were fighting each other, not advancing our country. And the reasons for that are explained with this chart. Again, I don't have time to cover this in detail, but if we think of politics as an industry, what do we have? We have a duopoly. There's only 2 parties. They dominate, and they have no real competition except for them too. There's very high barriers to entry. We haven't had a new party in well over 100 years in America. There's no new competition coming in to try to shake it up, make it better. And this is not unique to the US, it happens in some other countries, but boy, do we have a problem right now in this area. And it would be interesting for all of you to think about how the political system is working in your country, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's any other country in Europe. Some political systems work well, making progress, moving along, collaborating to make things better. Other political systems are just warfare between the 2 parties, one on the right, one on the left, different ideology. They never collaborate on anything. If we look at how the parties compete in the US, here's some key points. I won't cover this in great detail, but I just want you all to know. The problem we have in America is political competition in America is not to solve problems. It's the ideology. It's the right wants the world to be right, and the left wants the world to be left. And it turns out that neither right nor left is the right policy. It's always more complicated. You need to compromise. You need to come together. You need to solve the problem that will benefit all the citizens, not just the people that are on your side. Unfortunately, though, the parties are incented to get their partisans to support them very, very strongly. Therefore, they don't want to compromise. They don't want to be seen as giving up the right-wing ideology in order to improve gun control. That doesn't happen in our country right now. It used to happen. It used to be we had a great democracy. It worked really well. Now it's not working well. We're starting to understand what causes a democracy to work well or poorly. And again, this book, The Politics Industry, and there's also an HBR article on this topic, is something that anybody that's interested in this, please take a look at that, because I think we're starting to understand what's going on here. Citizens in America haven't understood this. They know the parties are not working. They know our system is broken, but they don't know why. And we're now starting to understand how to analyze competition in the political system and see what we need to do to fix it. And now, all of that is just background to talk to you a little bit about what the work of this network is, about the kind of research we're doing, the kind of topics we're now covering, the kind of new data that we have. And I thought those of you, given that we're in the Ukraine, would be interested in just seeing the Ukraine data. And Ukraine is actually doing, it's 85th out of 163 countries in terms of GDP per capita, but the social progress is lagging a bit. And you can see in Ukraine, your red dots, a lot of criminality, a lot of homicides, primary school enrollment. There's not enough of the younger kids that are actually in school here. Health and wellness is quite weak and uneven. Environmental improvement, which is critical to efficiency and productivity in an economy, is lagging. There's a lot of restrictions on freedom and openness in the society, according to this data. These are objective, independent data by the best organizations in the world, by the way. This is not our data. This is global data of the highest quality. There's a lack of inclusiveness that we see in this data. So again, I would encourage all of you to study this data. And as we're trying to figure out how to make our countries more competitive and more productive, we've got to deal with these areas. If we don't have good shelter, we're not going to have a productive economy. If people feel unsafe, you're not going to have a productive economy. If there's not good access to healthcare and wellness, you're not going to have a productive economy. And that's what we are learning over and over again as we so I thought you all would be interested in the Ukraine. Now, again, we have very limited time here. I just wanted to introduce you to the type of work that this network of schools is doing. I want to say again how proud I am and how thrilled I am about every single affiliate school that's here, about the work you're doing, about the impact you're having in your own country. But as I also pointed out, you're helping us to refine the competitiveness thinking. What drives competitiveness? How do we understand that? What do we do about it? We have a whole body of case studies that the schools teach that I think has had a big impact on governments around the world. We're also, however, collecting this new data on social progress because we found that the whole competitiveness discussion has been too much about economic and not realizing that if we can't make the social conditions better, the economic is just not going to keep moving in the right direction. We're demonstrating that right now in the United States. And to understand the progress we're making in our government, we have to start to see our government as a competition between private interests, political parties who are trying to advance themselves. And they're not public institutions who are trying to advance the society. And we see this all over the world. So wherever you're from, I think it's a very important question to ask. Is our government performing? Is it delivering what our citizens need? Is it allowing us to keep enhancing our underlying business environment and improving our prosperity, or is it working against it? Because it's working on behalf of private institutions that just want more power and want more money pouring in to their party or the other party in order that they have the clout to keep out new competition and to keep out real progress. And I think one of the big problems in the world now is that political systems are, in general, in many parts of the world, not working. And therefore, that's one of the key reasons why we see competitiveness is stuck. We're not moving ahead. Our prosperity is low. It's not getting better. We're not seeing people with more enthusiasm about the future. We're seeing people disgusted with what's happening in government. So this is the work of the MOC network. This is the kind of research that's going on today and will continue to go on. We want all our affiliates to be actively involved in this discussion in their countries because they're well-equipped and often very important institutions that have a lot of influence. So I hope that this gives you an overview of what this meeting here that we're having is all about. It's about these schools. It's about this work. It's about this topic of prosperity. It's about how to make every country a better place to live and a better place to work, and hopefully more prosperous over time. I hope that all of you that are doing this work will keep doing it. Keep doing it with even greater urgency, because although there's a lot of good in this world, there's also a lot of lack of progress. And as an American, I can tell you I'm deeply, deeply disturbed and concerned about where our country is today and where it's going. So hopefully we can restore our position as a leading democratic economy, a leading democratic country, where democracy is working for all the citizens. Right now, we're not doing so well. But hopefully, somehow coming out of the next, this election, or maybe the next one after that, hopefully we'll end up with a government where the leaders in government are working to make things better, not working to bolster their own power and their own influence and their own ideology. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you to our hosts for hosting this meeting, and also I'm very honored to be here, even though it's remotely. I wish we could be there in person. And I hope that all of you keep doing this good work, and I hope that in the Ukraine, the fact that we're in this country, there's so many of you here from that country, that these concepts and these ideas that I've been presenting will be at least a contribution to making the Ukraine a more vibrant, a more competitive, a more innovative place with a better quality of life for all the citizens. So thank you very much, and I wish you a great meeting, and I hope we'll have the opportunity to meet again.